Gonna do this on speaker on my phone, okay?
Okay.
At this point, we only have yourself and two other PROST board members here, so we don't have quorum.
Okay.
But we will now proceed with the start of the meeting.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah. So just it's gonna feel more informal. Just for the record though, for roll call, I'm Laurelyn Bockelman is present.
I'm Teresa Wakefield, present.
And then Jordan, can you state your first and last?
Jordan Jones, present virtually.
Thank you. And that's all we got, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so Billy's right, because we don't have a quorum, we will not be able to vote. So this will feel a little more informal. The consideration of minutes, we will table until the next meeting. So we'll have to approve them then. And then for tonight, Caitlin Morris has joined us. And so we'll go over your information, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
Introduction?
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Jordan. Nice to meet you remotely. So yeah, Billy asked me to come and chat with you guys about my new role with the town. So I'm the community and business liaison. And I often, when I tell people that title, I feel like I see a little bit of a glazed over, like, what does that mean? Like, what the heck do you do? And I, how much time do I really have? I should check with you.
Go ahead. I think this is gonna be a pretty quick meeting.
It's like I can ramble.
Let it rip.
Let it rip. Okay. So I guess I'll start with sort of the 50,000 foot view of what I do. And so I really think my work centers around kind of looking at the ecosystem of Wellington and sort of looking at where we have gaps and opportunities to grow together and develop together to sort of create a vibrant, interconnected community. So that's sort of the big picture view. The present time of Wellington, in my opinion, is we're in a period of transition and change. We're sort of in this post-pandemic weirdness, I like to say, where we're sort of trying to be normal, but nothing's really normal still. And Wellington has not recovered or found our feet again. And I think we were just talking that residentially, we've grown exponentially over the past 10 years. And I think we're really transforming from the bedroom community to a small community in our own right. And so I think we're sort of feeling that change right now. And so, my vision is for people who live here to be able to say, I live in Wellington, I work here, I play here, and I get help here. Like I can do everything where I live. And so looking at the ecosystem of what we have and where we need to fill in to make that possible for people. So how that sort of manifests in my day-to-day work is I feel like I have sort of three big buckets of work. So one of those is managing the community activities and events that the town produces. So that's the egg hunt, that's the 4th of July, that's Trick or Treat Street, that's the Parade of Lights. And simultaneously providing a mechanism for sort of those third-party events that happen with other stakeholders in the community. So helping them find their footing and what all they need to put on a really great event in Wellington. The second bucket is around business licensing. So because we have grown a lot and sort of our business environment has changed and is changing, a lot of different goals and sort of requirements around business licensing have come up over the past several years. And during the pandemic, we sort of changed what we were doing for licensing, didn't do licensing for a couple years. And so I'm revamping the program and creating an online application process that would just be really streamlined and automated and sort of incorporates a lot of different departments in the town that would get eyes on these applications and, be able to sort of provide that check mark that says these public spaces are safe, they're vetted, they're good for the public to be at. I think the bigger picture of business licensing that I personally want is sort of the economic development piece. So this gives us a platform to learn about our businesses, learn about what they need, and potentially start sort of providing resources to help for all the things that people need. So we'll launch the new program before the end of the year and go into 2024, licensing all of our businesses again. So it's a big to do.
Is that something that happens every year?
Typically, it's a yearly, yep. So in the past, licenses have been January through December. So January is historically like when we're doing all of the renewals. If a new business comes in the middle of the year, certainly we're doing a new business license at that time. But another layer of this is helping people start a business in Wellington. Like, what does that mean? Who all do I need to talk to? And what permits do I need? And like, what is that process? Very well. So I've been working on sort of a resource manual, like a one-stop shop. So businesses can come and say, I'm ready for my business license.
Nice.
Okay, these are all the things that you need to do that. The largest bucket of work that I have is managing the Wellington Main Streets program, which is our local, it's a 501c3 nonprofit. It's 9 years old now, and my predecessors did an absolutely phenomenal job of developing this program. So we quickly advanced from to sort of the top level program in the state. So our graduate community, we work directly with the Department of Local Affairs. They manage our state's Main Street program, but this is a national program that's in communities across the country. So I work with a board of 7 people with that program. And if you don't know much about it, it's really centered around revitalizing the Main Street and sort of the historic preservation that comes along with that. Typically, towns are built around their main street. So there's often, historic buildings that we help preserve or renovate or, find new purposes for. So that's a big focus of the program. But then we also work within sort of 4 different approaches. So organization is one of those. So that can look like internal organization, managing our volunteers, internal processes and policies, things like that. Or it can look like creating community partnerships, strategic relationships with stakeholders in the community, sort of bring all the right people to the table to, have the conversations around the work that we're trying to do. Promotion is another avenue that we work on. So that's really just promoting downtown and attracting people to come there. People in our community, regionally, tourists. Our events often land in this area. So we do, sorry, I got distracted by this fly.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
We do things like Brewfest. We have the Main Street Market going on right now. We're a big part of the Trick or Treat down Main Street, Small Business Saturday, stuff like that. And so that often kind of comes through that promotion track. And then we also work in design. So, it's really the beautification of our downtown area. So we do like the flower planters, murals and art, could be park benches and street lights. Really in signage, anything that sort of beautifies our downtown area. And then economic vitality. So kind of full circle back around to, I feel like economic vitality, or I like to say opportunity, is really sort of the big hug, I think, around the work that I do at the end of the day. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And Billy and I have worked really closely since I started, particularly on events. But we talk a lot about sort of funding opportunities and ways that I can pass along information that comes my way. I get regular emails from the state and other organizations that I'm a part of, for grant opportunities and things like that I always think oh, I feel like maybe this would be beneficial
Mhm.
for you guys. So, and also from kind of a staffing and volunteer support perspective, I always think of Billy and his team as like my team. I don't know if you know that, but
Yeah, you tell me that a lot.
they
You can
really,
start managing them.
oh yeah, you seem to do a great job at
Thank
that.
you.
So, but really, I've learned in the short amount of time that I've been in my role that the work that I have to do and the work that can be really impactful and meaningful to our community is dependent on getting the volunteer support needed to make it happen.
Yeah.
And I think people are just spending their time a little bit differently these days. We've seen volunteers support kind of dwindle, and I'm trying to think about that and how to sort of recruit and strategize around getting people involved in the work. And so, I'm having the conversations. I'm here. I'm open to advice and ways that we can kind of work together on some of the pieces of all of this. So it's a lot to share.
Well, question.
Yes,
Is
please.
this a good time?
Yeah.
Okay. So are you putting together reporting? Like, so a lot of times when we're talking about stuff for parks and we're like, gosh, we really want to go after this grant, but we have to fall into certain criteria for certain areas of town, specifically the downtown area. We have a great interest in working on Centennial Park and have had the last 10 years. But we need the stats. So is that something that you have and that you're working on that you can present so that we can talk numbers as far as talking about the population and where we're at so that we can build stuff out? Okay, good.
I do. I mean, I really want to beef these reports up. So this is something that I'm working on, but we are required to report quarterly and annually to DOLA. So a part of that report is a narrative, and a big part of that report is statistical data. And so we're tracking various indicators consistently.
Okay.
Vacancy rates. I'm losing my train of thought right now. I don't have all of those at my fingertips.
I mean, right? Median incomes, all of it.
Living,
Yep.
yes, population, demographics.
Okay.
Separately from that, I am part of a regional group called NOCO Ready. So this is the Regional Economic Development Initiative. It is hosted by the Larimer County Office of Economic Development and the Weld County, it's Upstart Colorado. Don't quote me on this. I mix it up with Startup Colorado. I apologize. It's Weld County's Economic Development Office. So it's representatives from all the communities in Larimer and Weld counties.
Okay.
The Larimer County office provides a lot of support and resources for these communities. So I recently connected with them about getting just some data, a data analysis from them.
Yeah.
They work with CSU and the extension. And so they're working on that for me right now, just to sort of provide a baseline of like, where are we?
Yeah.
And sort of provide some context to the decisions that we need to make about where we should head moving forward.
Great.
Because I think there's no lack of inspiration to look to in terms of how we develop our community. We've been doing communities forever, right? Yeah. But I think what's most important is to sort of have the factual knowledge around what's needed and what's going to make the biggest impact, and where we have the buy-in, what everybody thinks is important to do.
Right.
I think it's important to work together and decide that together. But back to your comment about Centennial Park, that's something that's been on the horizon for the Main Street program too. And we think about it a bit of how we can collaborate on that particular project being in our downtown district. And if there's grant funding that we can get for that. I apologize to take another departure here, but it's related. So Cleveland Avenue will go under construction around July of next year. This will be like a 2-year project of completely redoing the streetscape of Cleveland.
Yeah.
It's exciting and scary all at the same time. But it's, it's gonna look completely different. And it, hopefully the park or parts of it,
Mhm.
alleyways, things like that can kind of come into the fold at the same time. So that when it's complete, we have, better defined gathering areas and walkability on our main street. And so, yeah.
Good. There's a lot of history there.
Okay.
So we can talk about that at a later date. There's a lot of history there. The board is very passionate about that park. There's been a lot of work put into that park. So we're hoping to have, it's part of our master plan to work on Centennial Park. So
Yeah.
if Main Street would like to come here and talk to us about that and would like to hear what we're working on, that's great.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love to. I feel like there's just opportunities through the Main Street program, like Main Street America, to potentially leverage some funding or
Sure.
The DOLA staff has what is his title? He's like an architectural designer, but basically he could provide free services to sort of do conceptual designs around what it could look like if that's a helpful, part of the process.
We did that about 8 years ago.
Okay.
Yep. And with DOLA and with students from Denver. And we actually have conceptual drawings.
Okay. I think
We did it twice.
Diana Pronko was just telling me about this and trying to locate these designs. So I'm so happy to hear that.
We have them.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's really exciting.
It's pretty good. Yeah, we have them. It's just about funding.
Okay, that was my next question.
And that's why we're trying to figure out
Funding
like,
and buy-in.
what do we got?
Gotta
What
have
do
the
we got?
buy-in to
Yeah.
some of the changes that would be made.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely a few steps, but it's a goal.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, being new to a town environment, a municipality in general, I feel like that has come around quite a bit of what are the creative ways to finance more things that we can do in the community. So
We have some grant options, and we've worked on grants before for the area. We can work on them again.
That'd be a good collaboration.
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, luckily a lot of these grant opportunities are cyclical, right? They come back around.
They are.
A
Yeah.
lot of them. Right now, I'm told, a lot of federal funding coming down the pipeline for infrastructure specifically and capacity building. And so, I think the challenge is how to get at it.
Yeah.
It's kind of what you were saying. It's like the time has to be right. You have to have the buy-in, you have to have the plan, and be able to manage the funds if you
Yeah,
get them.
that's the thing too. Yeah, that is the thing.
The funds, when it comes down to the funds.
Yep. Yep. For sure.
So cool.
Very good.
Oh, thank you for
Nice.
having me.
I just have a
Yeah.
question, and it's not really a question, but more of a comment because of things that you hear on the street, because I don't know that a lot of people in the community understand what the Main Street program is. So I'm wondering if there isn't some way to get that information out to people, and maybe that would promote a little bit more support, be it be volunteers or whatever, because when people talk about the Main Street program, they're like, what is going on in Main Street? We see planters, we see this and that, but then we have and I'm not bad mouthing anybody, but we have the auction house, right? And it's like, well, if we really want to beautify Main Street, why are we allowing that particular area to look, in all seriousness, it's very junky. Okay. I mean, it's pretty junky. So anyway, and why is that part of it? Is it going to be cleaned up? What are we going to do about some of that stuff? And are there answers to those concerns or?
Yeah. I think about sort of the knowledge about the program and reputation of the program.
Right.
That's been sort of a primary talking point of ours this year, as the program itself has gone through a really significant transition of losing staffing. And at the end of last year, the reason why I'm here is the town created an MOU between the Main Street program and DOLA that essentially says that they'll employ me, but that, my time is spent managing this program.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So it's a step in the right direction of like collaborating between
Mhm.
these entities. But yeah, we feel the same. I feel like you're really in tune with the community in that way, because we feel like people don't really understand what we do or the potential for what we could do, I think is maybe even the bigger misunderstanding. We've got these annual operations that we do, like the flower planters, or we have a
Right.
sign and awning grant program, or
Right.
these events.
Yeah.
But it's about being in tune with what's needed and growing the program where it makes sense.
Yeah.
Some of those issues that you're bringing up, I know are on the radar, and people
Mhm.
have tried to deal with that in the past.
Right.
And I have been talking about that even as of lately. And what are some solutions that we can explore if it's as simple as a gate, like a beautiful gate that would hide some of that
Right.
stuff, or
Right.
and kind of back to the Cleveland construction and thinking about our alleyways and accessibility and needing to make those, walkable and accessible areas. We don't want things to be stolen from people or so I think that there's some pathways to really
Okay.
get after some of those issues. I feel new enough in my role that I'm not quite sure how to go after it.
Right.
But
Right.
the other aspect of that is the town just hired a neighborhood services officer, which now sort of gives us an enforcement pathway for some of these things
Yeah.
where we
Okay.
didn't necessarily have that for a while.
It's called a neighborhood enforcement officer.
Neighborhood services officer.
Oh, neighborhood services officer. Okay.
Mhm. So yeah, I think that that's all very relevant and things that we want to work towards and really, have an impact that's visual and ripples out in the community, that people know sort of the value of our program. So if I think of economically what we can do here, it's really the town, the chamber, and the Main Street program. And so we're formalizing that relationship right now and really having the hard conversations about what does that really look like and what does that really mean? And how do we work together and be complementary and not overlap? And so it's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a lot, but
That's a lot. Yeah. Get your plate full for sure. Yeah.
Takes on a lot, that's for sure.
well, I mean, I don't want to do it alone. I think that's so important to me
Yeah.
that, anything that I'm doing by myself feels like that's not the right way in my particular role. I
Yeah.
think it needs to happen together and we need the community support. And so I failed to mention that we've got these committees through the Main Street program. We have 4 committees right now. So the promotions, the design, forming economic vitality, and then our leadership committee is kind of organization and financial sustainability.
Are those volunteers, Caitlin?
They're all volunteers.
Is there a
I'm only
way that
paid-
you could, well, I don't know, I'm trying to think like, is that like in the chamber book, or is that out there somewhere that people know that the Main Street program has 4 committees and that volunteers will be accepted?
It's on our website.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
probably the primary location.
Okay.
But we are talking about recruitment heavily right now. So we're
Okay.
going into a season where a few of my board members will be leaving. I already know that. So there's going to be board seats available. And we need to beef up these communities to be
Yeah.
able to do just our annual operations, but be able to expand and do more. So
Okay.
we'll be putting out some flyers
Oh,
and
okay, so people will be, like, if they're not aware of it, they have the opportunity to be aware of it.
I
in the
sure hope
future.
so.
Okay.
I sure hope so.
Okay.
One of my challenges has been just getting information out to the
Right,
community.
yeah.
It is a challenge.
It's interesting.
Mhm.
Everybody's on Let's Talk Wellington, but that's not the place that they learn about stuff like this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've turned away from Let's Talk Wellington because people
Yeah.
complain that it's like the gripe session.
Hey,
They're
getting-
like, I don't want to.
Getting information out is interesting in this community because there's there's just so many avenues to do it, but only a certain percentage of the population chooses each avenue. You know,
Mhm.
like there are people that only get their information, public information, by walking into Ridley's or Sparge, and they just see a flyer and it's like, well, that only catches 5% of the people, you
Right.
know, or 2% of the people. We still have
Yeah.
people that don't realize that we have adult softball programs, and it's like,
Yeah.
if you don't choose one of the 6 ways we
Yeah.
put it out there and you don't drive by WCP, it's like,
We just
we're
don't know.
trying, but like same thing. Like Caitlin would love every volunteer possible, but I feel like it's tough in this community to pinpoint everybody that is willing to do. A lot of times, if you're willing to volunteer, it's easy to find the people willing to volunteer, but there's just so many different walks of life up here, and
There was a lot of-
it is transition. It's
Because Wellington has been like a pretty bedroom community for a long time.
Yeah.
I think that you have a lot of people who just are very comfortable just being where they're at in their little home, you know what I mean? There's not a lot of like socialization that goes on. I mean, now we have the breweries, we're bringing more stuff up, so more people are getting out. But I think a large majority of the population of Wellington, they just don't. I mean, they've been
Yeah.
here for a long time and they just don't,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the town would do very well to promote all their social media pages. So promoting, getting more people to follow the town Facebook page, the town Instagram, the town things. I think there's people that don't know that the town has social media presence, and then just constantly getting that good stuff out there.
I mean, if you only get mail, and that's how you get your information when you get your utility bill,
Yeah.
it says follow us on.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like it's right there. So if you're only getting the town newsletter via your mail,
Well,
it
that's
has
true,
that
but then so many
information.
people pay those utility bills online too, Billy, so they don't, I mean, like us, we never even open it. Honestly.
Right, but those are the
Because they
people that
pay.
probably know that we have social media because you're willing to go online. And that's what
Right.
I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
you split those two in half,
two
and then
ways.
half of those are split in a different way, and the other half are split in a different way. So how it's hard to get all 4 groups, right? You might reach half of one of
Yeah.
those 4 groups, but that's,
Yeah.
and
You're-
2 of
you're
those
missing
people are
something.
interested in volunteering. You might get one of them, and then all of a sudden,
Right.
like
Yeah.
it's a struggle, and it's, it's a struggle for us getting really on the recreation side. People say, well, how do we get information better? It's like, we're putting it out. We put flyers out every single week. We put
yeah.
social
I
media
know,
out all the
yeah.
time. It's always in the
This is kind
newsletter.
of far-fetched, but I don't know, in my past experience with some of the things that I've experienced, that maybe like a volunteer fair or something.
Hey, well, yeah, no. Well,
Oh.
this is the reason that I brought Caitlin, because she needs volunteers, and it sounds like you're willing to help more volunteering, Teresa. No, just we have a lot of correct.
As well, right?
Yeah.
I think it's being creative about how we get the information
Yeah.
out there and creating enough of a groundswell, that.
So
Well, what a great way to do that. I mean, bring people out together, right? And then you
We-
have all the things that you possibly could need volunteers for. You have sign
Yeah.
up sheets. You're not gonna get all them, but everybody, they'll sign up, you'll never hear from them. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the way it goes.
sure,
But, I mean.
If you get a percentage.
we have
would be better.
had eight
Several
different
meetings about
internal
this.
meetings about it, and it's more from thing to thing because from our standpoint in recreation and parks, we want to do, like, at some point, a large appreciation, because
Mm.
if we didn't have volunteers, every single one of our youth programs, every single team is a
That's-
youth volunteer coach, and
so
they
that's
do
nice.
more than just coach. They have to go through background checks, they have to go through training, and
So like an appreciation.
so we want to do an
thing,
appreciation. We tried to tie it in with a volunteer fair. And after the 4th of July, because that's like the huge ramp up, there was just this, not a lull, but like, we all have so much more to get done,
Right.
our
Yeah.
2 departments, because we're the ones that rely on the volunteers, really,
Right, yeah.
in the end. We kind of pushed it off, and then we pushed it off again because Main Street Market started and all of our sports started. So we're like, okay, for next year,
Mhm.
we're gonna have a plan going into next year of a volunteer / potentially a career fair, be able to get volunteers at school. Like we're
Yeah.
really trying to encompass everything in a couple dates
That would be cool.
where we can go to our volunteers, both of ours, and say thank you. Now, who else wants to sign up at the same time, or 2 different events, and just really
Yeah.
wrap it in? And to be frank, with with Caitlin being on for only
I think I'm 6 months.
6 months?
in this
Yeah.
month or
And in
something.
October, I'll be on for a year, but together, 7 months we've been working. It's like
Right.
getting a grasp on what we're actually doing and then really starting to, you know,
yeah.
work
Yeah.
with all that. So it's a pull for next
Yeah.
year.
Feels very much for me about focusing on the connections
Yeah.
and the education about the opportunities. You know, I think it also is our responsibility to be really clear about what's needed and to try and match people with what they really want to do. You know, that there is a breadth of volunteer opportunities. So what are your passions? What do you really want to do? There's
Right.
probably a place for you.
Absolutely,
Yep.
yeah.
And
And I
we,
think that, sorry, Bill,
no, go ahead.
that pipeline with the school
Yeah.
feels really important too, of like our community is young families and kids. And we've got this middle high school now, and it's cool. And we've seen just this great community pride come out through the school.
Isn't it crazy? It's kind of fun.
It's
huh?
fun. It's
awesome.
so fun. And so
It
how do
is.
we leverage that and get these kids involved?
Right. And that was kind of one of the holdups with just putting on a career fair. Like, what is our goal?
Hmm.
Kayla and I have talked a lot about this. Like, we could try to start snowballing something, but we want to have intentional plans in action. Like, we don't want to just try.
Mhm.
You know, it's a waste of our time to just throw darts at a dartboard. It's like that's kind of what we
Yeah.
felt like there's just so much going on with the career fair and just other opportunities that we've talked about. It's like, okay, let's manage what we have now, but really be intentional, like Caitlin said, about if you're passionate of sports, like direct it my way and I can get you into coaching or refereeing because we need a referee, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
If you want to work at downtown or a beautification project, you need an internship, like all that kind of stuff. We can work together on both.
Right.
We need to find the avenues for people to do what they want to do to be the most productive and intentional. We use that word like every time we talk.
Mhm.
So
I think people are maybe now, this is just my opinion, I think we're a little more choosy about how we spend our time. I think
Mhm.
COVID and the pandemic did that to us a little bit, for better or worse. We want to spend our time wisely. And, you know, when you choose to volunteer, you want it to feel meaningful and like you're making a difference. And
Yep.
I think a lot of times with volunteers too, sometimes you get volunteers and then those same volunteers are asked over and over and over again, and then you get a lot of burnout. It's like, okay.
Absolutely.
that's really where
No,
we're at.
absolutely.
Like this many
You
times.
sweet woman.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like direct view.
So,
No burnout, yeah.
Turnover is inevitable, and I think it's necessary too. I think sometimes it's helpful to have a time to have the perspective
Yeah.
and, you know, new energy or, you know, things to shift.
Yeah.
And
Or maybe that's a way to approach people too. It's just like, we're not looking for a volunteer like forever. We're not, we're looking for somebody let's just get volunteers for like, I don't know, 2024.
yeah,
And literally, so then people are thinking, okay, I'm only committing for 1 year, and they understand that, right? I'm giving my time for 1 year. Then next year, if I decide to do it again, great. If not, let's pull in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
what,
just-
like this board.
Yeah.
But that's what's wonderful about working with all of you is you're passionate about
Yeah.
this specific topic. So it's easy to come here, and it's it's not forcing people to come
Right.
volunteer their time and their effort and there's a lot of energy that comes with doing this. So
Yeah.
that portion of it isn't hard. You are all intentional coming here because you want to make a difference.
Right.
Unfortunately, people aren't intentional about going and picking up trash sometimes. That's what we need, but some people are. So we need to find that, avenue for everything that we need
Yeah.
and
Or service
really sort it
projects.
out.
I mean, a lot
All
of
that
these
stuff.
kids, like in schools and stuff, it's like they're looking for service projects. Okay, you need people to clean up the community.
Yeah.
Get these kids out, feed them lunch, tell them, hand them some bags. A lot of kids would do that.
yes,
A lot of kids would be
And
very.
that's kind of where we're trying to head.
Mhm.
But-
Right, very cool.
And our biggest interaction is probably just events. Number one is we support each other in
Right.
the events that Caitlin puts on, and moving forward with the volunteership.
Mhm.
And now other partnerships that we're uncovering. If we can collaborate on Centennial Park, that just furthers a relationship of one of your many hats that you
Mhm.
wear. But this team is definitely invested into that.
I'm excited. I think the potential is limitless. I think it's exciting, and I think it's just like unwrapping the bow in the box and unleashing it. I mean, we've got a potential out the yin yang. Wellington is poised to grow in the ways that we want it to. So
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
So you need volunteers for this weekend?
I do.
There's the plug, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing this weekend?
So Saturday is National Cleanup Day.
Oh,
We're doing the Main Street program in the town are partnering. Oh, you have it?
National
Very
Cleanup
nice.
Day.
You are awesome. Thank you. The town will provide free dumpsters to residents over off of 6th Street. And then the Main Street program is organizing just a cleanup of Cleveland. So sweeping, weeding, trash pickup, general cleanup activities, but
So if you have anybody that might be interested, I can share this with you guys. And
You can send it to my email, Billy, and then I will take it and I'll have Paul just print out a flyer and we'll send it out to the pickleball community.
yes,
Might
that'd
help
be fantastic.
Yeah. a lot of
Absolutely.
people out there.
either that or more people will just start bringing their stuff to clean up, which is also fine
Which
because that's
is-
what it's for. But
I know the dumpsters will be utilized, but yeah, so,
Okay.
yep, there's some parameters around what we can take,
Right.
like no furniture,
Right.
appliances,
Well, nice,
hazardous
okay.
materials, but yeah, generally otherwise just trash and recycling, and there's metal recycling and a yard waste disposal.
Interesting.
and then another thing that I wanted to build as far as the partnership, we haven't finalized it, but John, who isn't here, and potentially John and Teresa are going to kind of head a little subcommittee that we have for fundraising because we have all these projects we want to do, and some of them are going to be, one in particular is going to be more of a grassroots project. We're not going to go out for any grant funding or anything like that. That's the memorial at Wellington Community Park. So we really want to get that. We're going to talk about it tonight a little bit if everybody was here, but we're going to try to kickstart that as soon as we possibly can. We have a lot of community feedback, very positive feedback, and potential investment into time, effort, money, all sorts of different things. People want this to go through, which is fantastic. We
That's
had
really cool.
a really good feedback from the board as well. But as they move forward potentially with our side committee, I just want them to know that you're a great resource either through me or directly to as an avenue to businesses that are looking to help promote around them in the community, projects that would align with their missions, those kind of things. So when stuff comes up, they're like, oh my gosh, like, Rich at Sparge is thinking, I know this is just, I would love to promote more trail activity because that helps bring bikes down, like, okay, like let's
Yep.
put a fix-it station closer to him when we connect this trailer, those kind of things. Where like, hey, we're trying to do this. You have the Rolodex of the people as well as, co-investment into the beautification of Wellington.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really an easy way I can support getting the information out. I've got those listservs at my fingertips, and sending an email is a 2-second thing. So I'm always happy to share information.
of course,
Yeah.
I'm willing to let you run my staff anytime you'd like.
Well, again, I love teams.
Yeah,
so.
they're great. They are great. And we've had a couple booths at Main Street markets, and it's fun. I think as we grow, hopefully our staff, and we can get more seasonal staff as we're more prepared next year, and more volunteers will be able to really support and help boost what Caitlin's efforts are trying to do in our community, and not just support it, but be a big part of making it move forward.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, everything you're doing is great.
I appreciate you guys
it.
letting me take so much time.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. It's great. It's
Very good.
exciting to hear from you on what's going on.
Well, right back at you. I appreciate your ideas and your feedback and questions, and so. All right, you guys, well, I'll let you get to it. I know you've got an agenda, so.
A hacked agenda since we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
forums, so yeah. Yeah. Did you find childcare?
Well,
I was gonna
yeah,
say.
so I'm walking out to the car with my girls and the neighbors were out there and they're like, what are you doing? And they just offered to watch them.
There you go, let them
while I
have them
came
for a
over
while.
here.
You
So
can
yeah,
go through our agenda.
You got bedtime, is that right?
Yeah, right. What's for dinner? Is it gonna be ready at
We
exactly?
already did that, so we're.
Oh, you got
we're
it.
good to
Yeah, I
go.
thought-
Yeah, we're 4 and 5, so dinner is at like 4:30.
There you
I was gonna
Oh, they're supper kids.
Oh, yeah, supper, that's
Oh, yeah.
supper, yeah.
Hungry.
Nice to
Well,
meet
thank
you.
you guys.
Thank you, Caitlin. We appreciate you.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Where do you wanna go?
Here we sat.
Oh,
Jordan, are
no.
you still involved in this? Did you go offline? Did the call still there? Jordan? Oh, okay.
Okay. Do you wanna talk anything about the memorial, or do you wanna save that for the next meeting?
You know, the only thing I wanted to just, everybody can kind of view everything together. We can't really make, at this point, we really shouldn't say, hey, we need to make these edits. It is what
Yeah.
it is now. Obviously, it might morph in the future, but everybody has it in the packet. I sent all of
Yeah.
all that stuff. So look at it at your leisure.
Saw the picture, the actual specs as far as like the size, estimated like cost or anything, any of that
There's-
stuff.
There's no real estimated cost
Okay.
yet. So the next thing would be, at some point, we probably would need to go to like figure out if the one thing we're gonna try to do initially before, well, the next takeoff would be getting an engineered plan, and that would give
Okay.
us costs.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
but these are the renderings. We have the spatial mapping from the Public Works Department. So
Yeah.
those two combined, we can then bring out an engineer and say, hey, this is what, can you please build this?
Yeah.
And what we're potentially looking for is someone within the community to
Who
not
will
necessarily
provide
do
that
a
for you?
pro bono, but work with us.
Mhm.
So taking these to someone and saying, could you provide service to give us an engineered plan now? I think that's the whole grassroots idea then, is just saying, do we have an engineer? Do we have someone who can make not real, these are real designs, but actually physically put it out there so that we can put some monetary value to it.
Okay.
Because again, this could be anywhere from 40,000 to
I know.
250 if we made it that. So
I have an idea of who we can ask. We can talk about that offline.
okay.
Yep.
Let me get back to the agenda up here real quick. So that's the update with that. This will be in the Board of Trustees update. I will get those on the slides.
Okay. Mike's happy to update the Canon. We can go to the site and get the
That'd be great.
get a panoramic in it and get the actual Canon. This was just, he was trying to get the renderings
Yeah.
out to say, okay, here's the idea based on what we had originally created.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So
It's got space for people to congregate. It's got space for people to sit out on a lawn like we hoped for.
Yeah.
It's accessible via the walk.
It's a really cool idea. I really
It's
think
fantastic.
It would be absolutely beautiful out there. I really
Good.
do.
It'd be a statement piece, not
Yeah.
just of the park, but of the town. It would
Yeah.
really be a statement piece of the
Yeah,
town.
it would. And I think it would, it would draw a lot of visitors actually.
mhm.
I mean, seriously, but. Cool.
Yep.
We're already getting calls for donation of people wanting to donate and how they can be part of different levels.
Okay.
So that will be a conversation that we'll need to have probably at the next meeting
Okay.
is what kind of levels of sponsorship could we discuss, and we can bring some draft ideas to that if
Yep.
that's the time.
I think we do. I think we talk at the next meeting about what we're looking at. And I mean, I can involve the people at the town, which they're happy to do, to just say, hey, take a look at this. I'll have the time before then to go to the people who work on the large scale projects and just say, even if you want to ballpark this, if it's
Just give us a.
if it's in a $50,000 range, just let us know so we can start making packages.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
because
we-
I think before we start any fundraising efforts at all, we have to have that information.
Yeah.
It's vital to have that.
Yeah.
Because people are gonna want that before they start.
And I think what the way that we've talked internally, the best way to do it isn't to say like, here's a price for a flagpole,
Right.
here's a price for a bench. It's
Mhm.
here's the
Overall, God.
American package. Here's but you put
Sponsorship
the
levels.
goal, the sponsorship levels. We
Right.
name them the gold, red, white, blue, whatever we want to
Right.
do. But you put the goal, like this is our projected budget. Here's our goal. If we get to that, we can do something like this. If we go well beyond it, we can add in granite stones that people can engrave in the future. All that kind of awesome stuff where we want to do eventually, but so we can we can make this as awesome as it wants to be.
Yeah.
And as Trustee Daly said last time, like the board does have a discretional fund. And if my goal is just to get this to a place where we're saying, look, we've got $80,000 worth of not potential, but tag donations.
Right, yeah,
We're
and
saying
that-
it's gonna be 120, like get us there. Like
Yeah.
look how much work we've done for this project that wasn't on anybody's radar a year and a half ago.
And I think that is huge when it comes to the fundraising, to be able to provide that, to say, okay, look, this is our community and this is what the community's done to get this project off the ground.
Yeah.
And now we need to reach this goal.
Yep.
Huge,
And
huge.
I don't want to call it this, but it almost is like a little bit of a GoFundMe. It's like, can we hit this level and
Yeah.
can we go surpass it and do more for our community? Because it's going right back into the community, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And
And
I
then
don't,
if you surpass your goal, right, the
How
money
cool.
goes back in and does something else. Yeah.
right. One person who hasn't been like, that's amazing,
Yeah.
that would be cool. Like this is a statement piece.
Well, it's a big community because like Wellington. People think of Wellington, I think it's this little downtown area and.
Right.
I mean, Wellington, you've got the horse properties, you've got the people over here by the lake, you got people on the east and you have people all over the place.
Yeah, we do.
People who got lots of money.
She can help us tap that hopefully.
Yeah.
Community survey results. Do you want to go through some of that or
Yeah.
it's a huge document.
Yeah.
I guess I would have to challenge you to read through all of this
Okay.
at some point because it is like 94 or 5 pages.
We get a link to it?
We just.
It's in the
You did?
packet. Yep. It's on its own separate page
Okay, perhaps I didn't see
right
it.
here. Sorry, I just pulled up the agenda. Let me get the packet. Just the minutes that we'll be tabling.
When you say packet, Billy, you're talking that you got all that for us to print up if we wanted to.
Oh, they didn't come up. I apologize for that. That should have been the link that I got from
Okay,
Kelly. I will send that out. I am so sorry.
cool. Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
I copy and pasted the link
Okay,
and it must have worked on my computer because I clicked on it. It went to the site, but that's probably because I got it directly and it doesn't have a www. So
okay.
for that, I will send that back out. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm a nerd. I will print that whole thing and read it. So that's great. Thank you. I love that. Very exciting.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for more surveys, more stat, more.
It is just on the town website. It
Oh,
is
okay.
public information and that's where it directs you
Oh,
Excellent.
to that's why it just says wellingtoncolorado.gov and
Okay.
doesn't come up with, but I'll refine the link and just send it. I'll get Caitlin's information in on that.
Oh,
So
good.
so everybody has that.
Yeah, that would be good to have her stuff too.
I guess we'll go back to this. Oh, maybe I'll just do the agenda. That's shorter. And how much do you want to go over this with the three of us being able to see it? You don't want,
I think we'll look at it.
I was gonna
on
say, I'd
time.
rather like look at it
Okay.
on my own
Yeah.
time and then be able to come back and discuss it after
Yeah.
reading through it.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
Absolutely. I'm saying.
and I think the biggest thing that I wanted to at least just talk about here is that in the presentation to the board, we will say that one of the three key findings is that the community, Wellington's community, is willing to invest money and time into improving outdoor spaces and recreation opportunities, as Trustee Daly pointed. That's, and you'll find this
Yeah.
in there,
Okay.
as well as a couple other key points just about how community gathering is very important, and we, any improvements we make ties directly into that. Any place that people want to recreate is a place
Yeah.
to congregate. So there you go. So page 6. Value Wellington's natural environment, park systems, but support additional investment in recreational opportunities. So this statement will be directly in the presentation that we make.
Perfect.
And along with that, and we're kind of talking about it as it is, but that is, we kind of talked about the fundraising subcommittee. John's not here, so I think we can push that off.
Yep.
So kind of tying into the E here, the Board of Trustees presentation, is that community survey, as well as tying in, this is the 2022 to 2024 strategic plan, and this is in the packet, I believe. No, maybe I didn't put that in. So we could just look at it here, but gathering spaces is a key strategic plan. Completing the downtown master plan and the parks master plan is on the strategic plan. And then anything that we do with accessibility improvements. So I think those 3 things that we're trying to do already directly tie into the strategic plan of the entire town, and what the Board of Trustees should be focusing on, as far as not only just accepting projects, but helping push them forward, both monetarily and with engagement.
Yeah.
So the ADA fishing docks, accessibility improvements, and community gathering spaces, trail improvements, accessibility stuff, anything with the disc golf, accessibility improvements, anything with the pickleball, or if we're trying to resurface a court, that only improves and gives a larger usability to a gathering space, right? So all those things we will tie directly into this and that funny piece of the community survey.
Cool.
So let me bring up the current presentation just in its skeleton form before I put a little more time into actually finalizing it.
Thank you for working on that. I know that's a lot.
Yeah, it's okay. It's interesting with this because I feel like every slide could be everything, like what we're working on, what we want to work on, how it ties in, bring it all back and tie it in, but wasn't, but there it is. So just an opening slide so far. This is where I'll tie in our new mission and vision immediately. Recap of some successes. So I know we're going to talk about, I could do this in updates, but just so you guys know, the bike fix stations should be, well, they are set to deliver this month. So we'll try to get the one in so that we have a picture of it. I have a date of the 29th, it says. We have the skate park upgrades that we have photos of, just need to tie those in here. Baseball field renovation, that's more parks. We have numbers. There were about 200 kids that went to the fishing derby, so we have those numbers, as well as all of them that were in the kids to parks days, the 4 park and play days. These are recreation things, so all the programs that we've added and are going to expand on this winter. The successes will be what we've already done with the memorial, getting the 2 different versions of where we're moving forward with community engagement, and then I'll put in our recreation participation numbers.
What
for
about
the
signage?
year. Huh?
Mhm.
2 pads are poured
I mean, that's a
and
success,
put them
right?
up.
Like,
Yep.
kind of maybe.
Thank you. Absolutely is.
What is it?
The-
For what?
The signage
The park
that
signs?
we have worked so hard on.
Did you,
having
did you
park
see the
signs.
one?
No?
The sign's not up, but the pad is poured for library park,
Sweet.
and the pad is poured and the old sign is removed from WCP. So on the
That's
corners,
good.
they just
Okay,
need to be
that's
put
good.
up.
That's good. That's a success. It needs to go
Yeah.
on.
So
Sure.
those signs will be in with pictures before we present. I will crack the whip on those because those signs should be done. They just need to be put in now because they just poured the concrete a week and a half ago.
It's been a really long project for this board to
Really?
get signage at each of the parks and
Wow.
impactful sign. It's very big,
Where
you know,
people-
really saying like this.
Beautiful
is what this
too.
park is.
It's cool.
Mhm.
Well,
It's really
that is
pretty.
cool. I kind of wondered what was going on over there.
Yep.
WCP.
At the corner.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, what are they doing? And that's good to know.
New park sign there, new park sign here. Well, new park signs, but those ones will be the first few implemented.
Okay.
So this is one that again, we're like trying to tie things back in, but you know, internally we're starting the fundraising subcommittee. These are the people that have come in to talk about what they would like to see and what we're trying to do with them. So the pickleball community has come in and we're trying to improve an already used site while also improving the basketball at the same time. So that's impacting the community and we have community involvement on that.
Mhm.
The ADA fishing access, we have had, I forget her name. She came in and talked about the fishing access right after we did the board presentation last time. So there's like a community outcry for better access to the fishing. That's what we're trying to provide with that project.
Yep.
Obviously we've had tons of people with feedback about the plaza, the master plan. That is just like is a community involvement project when we go out and do all the surveys and sensors and all that kind of stuff. And then trying to do a walkability, playability, whether or not that's tied into the master plan pre-planning or where that is, but things that we need to do and have community involvement back to meet our goals.
Yes. And disc
And-
golf folk came.
Thank you.
I thought that was so cool that they came.
I already have numbers from them for their different
Yeah.
different projects.
Yeah.
They got all that stuff. So I will
Okay.
share that kind of stuff with you. Kyle and I have had back and forth conversations about it. Anything
That's
else with the direct community involvement and how we're trying to impact the community as they're coming to us in the back and forth process?
Yeah. You guys have done some, you've set up stuff at Bean Street Markets to talk, right? As a recreation and parks program, right?
You talked about having
Oh,
booths there. or
You've
something.
had booths and you've
I
had.
Think
you talked
events
about this
events
later?
in collaboration,
Okay,
fishing
okay,
derby,
okay.
Main Street markets, Arbor Day, Park and Play Days. So this is where we're as Parks and Rec and this team are impacting other areas. So the other one was like, we're getting feedback and we're trying to produce that. This one is like, we're just working at events, trying to promote more
Okay,
or less,
okay.
promote and help others, you know, like
Yeah.
we're trying to bring people in. And these are at this point, it's skeleton. So no specific order. I'll kind of go through it and think about flow before we meet next and go over this. Oops, sorry. So I will share this with you all so you can look at it. If you will be able to edit it, but what I would ask is that you just maybe send me edits rather than editing it, so there's not too many hands, because Dominic set this first thing up and I've kind of been going through and he's going to take it and make it look beautiful at the end, and I'll send him pictures that are appropriate. Got all the pictures, just haven't kind of plugged and played all that, because until you get, without getting too much into it, it's so much easier just to put an outline on there without having pictures everywhere and moving them until you're ready to go.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about doing disc golf, we're talking about doing pickleball, we're talking about the ADA fishing docks or bike stations. What are the other ones that we want to present to the board?
I would just future projects like date it for, this is what we care about for 2024. But, we have our big picture projects too, right? Like this is the 1 year plan. This is the, and then we're going to have the big tickets.
I'll just put this in here. Future.
Are we still working on getting a play map out for the
Yes.
community so they understand
Yes.
cool parks we got? This is the old one that we designed a couple years ago, but there was supposed to be a collaboration of working on a new one
Well, that would be cool. And where would you have that available at, like?
everywhere.
Everywhere.
I mean, just.
Chamber,
like,
our
range.
front office, right outside the library, anybody that we put, so we put up our recreation flyers at Ridley's,
Yeah.
at your place, at
Okay. so
Sparge,
All over the place.
at Slurps, anywhere they're there, just like put up kiosk,
Pick it up.
slip it in.
Yeah.
See how many cool things we already
What do
have.
I want to call that? The amenities trifold. I'll just
Yeah.
put that on now.
Yeah.
And I'll be frank and honest, like that kind of slid down my list of things. I will
Yeah.
get that moving forward. Dominic is working. He has a whole list of everything that's an amenity and he's working on getting it there, but I will just prod him a little more because that's his job.
It'd be really cool if we can get a QR code on here so that people can scan it and then get to, they'll go directly to the website that you guys have been updating anyway. That'd be sweet. For the
Well,
parks.
that would be cool.
That will be.
Mhm.
You know,
love
I
it.
got my notes. My
I know.
my video
Honestly,
notes.
QR codes, get them out there. Okay.
So the future ones I'm gonna put on here, Centennial Park. Do you think that's gonna cause too much fire in the community? Cause I know that is a hot button with people that don't wanna see. Not here for now, but
Centennial Park is a it's been and will continue to be a very important project for this board. We have a lot of time invested in it, and when it comes to parks, well, it's a park,
yeah,
it's part of this. So I'm not sure. If people want to come and talk about it and hear what we have to say about it,
Yep.
they're more than welcome.
Yep. Viewpoint,
Viewpoint update, yep.
I'm just gonna do update because if we're gonna spend the money to just do the playground, I want to have someone come in and reimagine some space that's usable.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, Viewpoint's a bigger conversation about all the cool things that we could do in that space and then talking about restrooms, and it's just it's a big
And it would be, yeah, we can talk about that.
Okay.
And that's part of this, just like Viewpoint Park reimagined.
Mhm.
Trails, I know we want to specific with trails,
Mhm.
What
land
about this one
purchase.
called Dog Park on the east side, is that a big thing too?
It is.
Those are pretty good.
Okay,
I mean, that's the big ones. that I
Jordan,
think
anything
we
else?
said.
he's awake, just kidding. So anything else you guys can think of that we've collaborated on? The fishing derby, Kids to Park Day, our park and plays for our internal events, the Arbor Day we did a collaboration on. Main Street Markets, we're working to help. In recreation, we do work with Caitlin on, oh my God. Of course, 4th of July, because
Mhm.
that's, and then Trick or Treat Main Street.
Pretty excited about that one.
A pretty well attended event, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
It's great.
You guys want to help volunteer for that? As recreation, we put on the decorating contest for the Chamber of Commerce.
Oh,
The
Yep.
recreation staff does that. And we last year we started an annual award and it gets passed around to the business that dresses up. the outside of their business the best.
Mhm. I would have a conflict of interest because I'm going for it.
Oh, because you're gonna be down there.
Yeah.
Depends on if we're in town, really. I've got a grandbaby coming, so I might be out of town.
That's okay.
If I'm here,
Just,
Yep.
we're there. We have a booth and we dress up. We did last year. It was fun.
That's fun,
We had a
yeah.
little ping pong for people to play, and then they make their choices.
that's fun.
Okay. Anything else? What else do we want? Okay. I just want to, budget small, and medium-sized projects. I think it's frank just to say like we would like to ask for a larger size for you guys have to say on behalf of Parks and Rec manager for us is PROST to help drive or not dictate but help guide in the direction of what the community is wanting towards the park and rec manager for some minor park improvements on the small and medium sized scale. Now, and if they ask me, because in my budget presentation, they're also gonna probably ask me like, why such a large thing? And I'm gonna say, well, like, I understand in our purchasing policy, we have to have like a capital improvement for certain projects. So what I would like is a larger sum to then us to decide the good projects to take on and then present those to the board once we have them. But it's hard right now to tie down some of these projects when I've got a guy that is like, well, I could meet you next week to give you an estimate, and that's great. Well, then it goes next year's capital improvement.
Right.
And as the price goes up, then we're reinvesting into that, like, and these are $18,000, $20,000, $6,000 projects that if we just said, hey, we're ready to go next week, can I get an agenda, Patty, and go to the board and say this project was approved? Potentially, I've got the funding within that budget, the discretionary budget. We get, so that's where I want to,
Yeah.
that's where I want to go with this.
Yep.
So the board backing for project, that's an alignment. Community involvement for projects, we have all of that. We've talked about that. Community engagement survey, that's where we talk about one of the 3 key findings of that 95-page document was literally what can we do that the community is already saying they want.
Yeah.
Was the rec center part of that?
Not specifically, although it is one thing that people had pointed out that they want.
Okay.
Well, I'll be frank. Unfortunately, we're not in a place to spend $30 million on a rec center right now.
No, I know, but I
Fantastic,
mean, I
but
think it would still be important to have the board understand that that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
need and a want.
they've gone through that whole
Okay.
community survey. It would be fantastic. I think that's definitely a conversation for another day and how we go about that. So right now, what I'm trying to push for a capital improvement project for 2025 is a rec center feasibility study, and that's where it all starts.
Yeah.
And whether or not that ties in with our master plan, the Parks and Rec master plan, because it kind of does, but it kind of doesn't. And we've had those internal discussions multiple times, just so you guys know that. So completing the Park and Rec master plan, it's on the strategic plan. Can we please get that done?
Yeah.
Because if that gets done, then easily we can take the next step to the rec feasibility study and say, look, it
Right.
shows that we have the community to support a rec center. Is it actually feasible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then this is where I would love you guys to have some input. What are our limiting? Obviously, budget's always there. I want that to be last because don't want to be like, well, you don't give us enough money, and that's like where they start. I want that to be the last thing for limiting, and just say, and also if we had the money, there are projects we can get done and kind of end with that, but also say like, we don't have space for recreating. That is a huge limiting factor in what we can do. We don't have a large outdoor space. So all that is programming through recreation, but
Right.
also since we don't have it, we can't sit in here and conceive areas. We can't get trails to a large opening space for people to ride their bikes to their kids' sports games because we don't have the trails and we don't have the space, like all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like without that large open space to be able to do that, we can't connect trails to it.
Right. Can you put ridiculous impact fee? That was a joke.
I didn't put ridiculous.
Okay, yes. How could we say that? Like we would need a review of the. We say that nice. financial. How money is brought into the parks and trails needs an update. How do you say that? Update of,
If we put it under budget, we could just say something like revenue streams. Like
Yeah, that's
updated,
nice.
updated revenue streams.
our impact fees are significantly lower than almost all of the municipalities. In Northern Colorado.
I do that.
Parks and.
Oh, really?
What else is kind of holding us back from being able to?
So when you say recreation space, you're just making them aware that the only recreation space that we actually have besides outdoor spaces is right here.
That would be like indoor recreation space. Yes.
Maybe you should say that for in.
Oh,
indoor-
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, indoor
Yeah.
recreation.
That's what it
Like,
means.
that's a
Yep.
little confusing. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
We have the Leaper Center. I literally just wanted to put it there.
Seriously,
Like,
with question mark, like 10
Yeah.
of them behind them.
Yeah.
Like, what do you expect us to do?
Mhm.
we already do a lot with this space. We wanted to get Taekwondo in here. How that actually works. And then the large outdoor space is just on the same line. Viewpoint is it. There's no other place for adult sports. And when we do try to do an adult sport and a kid sport,
Right.
it is not good.
What about the, any conversation as far as the school? Because did you say the school is gonna open it up for basketball?
The new middle high school.
Yeah. Oh, no, the old middle one.
Oh yeah. We're using that.
Okay,
yeah.
for some.
Yeah, but that's not our space. So we have to
Oh,
pay out for
oh, I
that. And we
gotcha.
can
Okay.
only use that
Okay. if we
after
pay
they're
for
out
it.
of school.
Okay, right.
And they're not
And on the
programming it.
weekend. Okay,
And potentially on the weekends if they're not using it.
okay, gotcha, okay.
So
So that's not space that we.
so
can
just
have in
just
here.
think of what else limits us.
I mean, for the trail, we're limited. I don't know if you put it in there. We're limited by accessibility.
Easement,
Thank you, but it's, we're limited by the, by having
highway in the
highway
middle.
one,
Mhm.
yeah. It just, but I don't know that I would. put that
No,
in
I don't
there.
think we need to push that in there because there's
Um,
that's never gonna change. Just we can think about it. Like I said, I'll share this with you and you can go through it. Just send me edits.
Accessibility to plans, like it's really hard, we need the funds so that we can get the trail plan updated.
I think a lot of that, yeah, falls in the budget, we need.
It does, but
Yeah.
I don't know how you word that, like we need access to funds to help with the planning part of. I don't know, play with it, but we need ways to get it, to get the funds, to get the studies.
Yeah.
To get the plans.
I think, yeah. Okay.
To me, it
We'll
just
work
seems
on it.
like maybe, and I know that we can edit this later, but for like limiting factors that we should be more. I don't know, I can't really think of anything right now, but more specific, and you know what I mean? Rather than having such a broad thing. I'm not trying to say that it's too broad, I'm just saying, I don't know, think about it.
Yeah.
Because I think the more detailed information they have as far as limiting factors, the more impactful it'll be, right? Maybe to them, who knows? Do you know what I'm saying?
Kind
A
of.
little bit? Okay, sorry, I don't mean to be
That's
confusing.
okay.
Yeah.
But. Okay, something to think about.
I know a bunch of them to me.
Yep. So again, I will send this out. I will share it. You'll get an email and you can open this presentation. Anything you want to put in there, just let me know. I can also just what I'll do right now, make it easiest. So
So we don't mess it up.
any edits you want to make,
Okay.
just put Teresa dash can you add, or what about adding
Okay,
on this page, or
Okay.
to this statement,
that makes
or
it easy enough, okay,
improving this header, whatever it is.
all right,
Okay.
perfect.
And
Thank
then
you.
I can direct Dominic to that too, and he can, add photo here, all of it, welcome. Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so we're good on that. We're gonna try, I think we had set up October 10th originally for doing the Board of Trustees update with this.
where we go through everything.
The presentation to them. We're gonna try to switch it to the 3rd of October.
Okay,
Um, that night it's my first go of presenting my budget to the Board of Trustees. So on that night, it would be good to have this thrown there as well,
okay,
so that they understand. And also it's a special meeting, which means it'll be more like this setting. We won't have to go up to the diocese or podium or whatever you want to call it. They're not going to be sitting up there. They're not going to be looking down on us with the public in the back.
they're gonna be like,
It'll be at a table. Town staff will probably be sitting back
Oh.
there. During the presentation, we'll probably all just gather around a table. We can talk rather than presenting to them. We can
and
go
that
through the
was gonna
slides.
be on October 3rd?
October 3rd. And then I'll probably either immediately go into my budget presentation, which this will be a great lead into that,
Okay,
or I would assume we'll do mine first and then Public Works will go, but
okay,
the 3rd. Does that work?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and John
You-
said it worked for him. I called John on the way in and he said that was gonna work.
Jordan,
Yeah.
would the 3rd work for you?
I'm not sure the thing.
Let me check my calendar.
Okay.
I'm so sorry, but I just don't know.
No, we get it. We get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
God.
It'll be 6:30 in the evening is when it'll start.
6:30 in the
Yeah.
evening. If I'm here, if I'm around, I will certainly be here. I can be.
So,
I should be able to, but put me down as tentatively right now.
okay, pencil it in if you can. I will send that meeting invite out to everybody now that we've kind of discussed it. Future calendar. Go through that real quick. Oh, sorry, that's not the right one. Need the PROST future. Okay. Here's the calendar of what we want to talk about and agenda items. So I will add, now that we've agreed to it, I'll put a line in here, a column in here, and put that we're going to do the meeting. Does anybody want to try to meet prior to that to go over the presentation after I've finalized it, to do edits and or speaking points? Do like a
Run through.
hour-long run-through / special meeting within okay, I'll try to set that up. I'll just email out what night works the best. I'll be on vacation next week, but when I get back, be fast and furious, but I'll give you guys dates and I'll set all this stuff up. I'll try to sit down tomorrow and get all this information out to you guys, share all this stuff.
Okay.
So then we'll have the meeting or the presentation on the 3rd, and then the 11th will be our next regular meeting. So right now we tentatively have Trails Partnership, Budget Bonanza, and that is that should be perfect if we get something
Okay.
ready. Depending, we can work on the partnership list. I know we've kind of pushed that off a lot, but I was kind of thinking now that potentially have Caitlin. She kind of is that
Sure.
Rolodex partner, so we might not need to make our own. We kind of just would need to present to her what we want, or we can try to tackle that too. It's kind of up to you guys. I'd love a running list if we want to take the time to do it.
Yeah.
We haven't even tried to even sit down and brainstorm just who we think is invested in, as Caitlin always says, stakeholders and what we're trying to do. And
We could even hold for. Be a big part of that.
yep, she'll be
It sounds
here.
like she's already done a lot of that legwork anyway. Right?
Okay, what else do we want? Since we kind of had to table the fundraising committee, do you want to move that over and just kind of finalize that?
Yes. Mhm.
I think it might be too early. We could do a review of our presentation, though that's not really gonna matter. I do want to do a budget review, but that's just my first go of it. It's just the original presentation, so we won't know any sort of decision on what the board has to say at that. So I'll push that off and I'll put that on the agenda. It'll probably be closer to the December 13th, and then one of those two will do it, but it won't be the one right after our meeting.
Okay.
Unless there is feedback, in which case I'll add to it, like we need to amend this, all that kind of stuff. If I need your help, I'll ask that way. But
Okay.
anything else? There's not too much on that list. And then as things come up, we can add to it. I believe you guys will have access to this. So if you want to see something, put it as an agenda, put it as a speaker. If you talk to somebody who wants to come in, if it's public comment, just advise them to come in. But if you have someone specific that has a passion in the community and has like vested interest stakeholder, like a club or something like that, they can come in. Whatever, speakers. I'll continue to work on one every 2 or 3 meetings to bring someone in that. It's helpful. Good.
Thank you.
Okay. So then it would just go to updates. Who wants to give the updates for the town staff? Let me.
We kind of went over a couple already.
I have a good list of things, and I usually remember them because there's a few, but I'll jam through these. Let me just bring up my notes. So I can just make sure I'm on point here. That's supposed to be the one. If it doesn't come up in just a second, just wing it again.
I should state. Natalie, tried to get on.
That didn't work for her either.
I
Okay.
just saw that she texted at 6:22. This is Natalie. I'm waiting to join the meeting, and she was curious.
Oh yeah. Hold on, silent. Okay. Few things from me. Centennial slide. I had a really strong improvement on the last information I had. I finally found a company that is willing to do that specific slide for Centennial. So rather than having to redo the entire thing, we're going to get it installed this year.
It's affordable.
It is much more affordable. It took going through multiple different companies, but I found one, so we should be good there. I wanted to talk to Robert about another safety thing at the skate park, but I can call him and show him that needs to get fixed from Sursa. We've been putting a ton of work into the outside of the municipal building. I don't know if you guys have driven by or looked at that, but that's been like, for the most part, one of my employees has been dedicated that, which is not enough people to do that, but we've been trying to help as much as we can. We're really close to having that done, and it's going to be really cool. So that has been a huge focus. As far as the splash pad is turned off, viewpoints, engineered wood fiber is all in and down. If anybody complains about it being a little bit uneven, that's just since we didn't pay to have it blown in layers. We just put it in and raked it, so it will get smushed over time. We probably will have some migration if the wind picks up, but just if people ask, just tell them that it will be compacted over time and it should settle down. But we put a lot in there, should be good to go over there. The next one will be Park Meadows that I'll try to do. And I want to do that first part of next year, unless there's a slight chance I could find it in the budget this year, but I'm not certain I will. I'll try to do that with some of that money next year.
Okay.
Because that needs it as well.
Yes.
I'm looking into a budget next year for trying to get the walk around Wellville turn from the soft trail to a more accessible hard trail. Usually soft trails, and they are ADA accessible, but because where that pond fluctuates and the irrigation runoff, there's so many spaces in there that just get rutted out from maintenance, disc golf walkers, all the people walking around there. So I want to do concrete with a side soft trail for runners. Anybody that wants to do that. So that should be good. I have two firm contacts, no pricing yet, but two firm contacts that can get me dock pricing. There's a few things I need to do, like go over and take a boat to see dock height from when it's full to when it's going to be sitting there. If we want to do a floating dock so that we don't have to take it out, or a permanent structure. I think if we do a floating dock that is fully ADA accessible and close it down when there's not fishing available, we can either pull it out or leave it in there and put, they have, lockable gates on the outside of them. So that way we wouldn't have to have a permanent structure in there, which means we don't have to have like the full on engineered construction. This just comes, we put it together and it's just like a floating dock. So it's an interesting option, probably more cost effective, and it's a Colorado company, one of them. The other one's on the East Coast, but I have to get pricing. So I'm going to try to find a third, and then if I'll present to you guys if this is the way we want to move forward, if we want to go back to the engineer plans.
Yeah.
But so I've got some progress on that, and then potentially grant money that would be associated with that. I just would have to then present to you, then present to the grant, and write a grant.
Cool. And where is that at?
Wellville Ponds. That's on the east side on County Road 60.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
In McClellan. Yep.
With
the underpass there.
Real quick question. Splash pad shut down. What about the bathrooms over there?
Bathrooms are open.
We
And
saw
will they
that.
remain open throughout because of the new lock system that you have on?
Well, the bathrooms will only remain open until we shut them down for end of season.
And when is that gonna happen?
Typically, hopefully before the first freeze, because there are heaters in that bathroom, but the heaters, when it gets cold enough, they don't push enough heat to keep pipes from freezing. We can't have that happen. So traditionally all bathrooms like that, because they're not frost freezable, though they will close down.
Okay.
Usually that's after we do traditional irrigation blowouts, we'll go back and do the bathrooms. The south ones we will keep open until all of our programming is done with softball.
Right.
But we'll try to keep those ones close to the tennis court / playground open as long as we possibly can.
Okay.
Signs was an update I was going to give. We have the 2 pads board. I talked about that. So those will hopefully be going in. And then also with that project, we're trying to incorporate the ADA accessible pads. Or the size for ADA porta potty or pads. So we can start getting some of the traditional size porta potties at all the parks improved into the ADA ones.
Yeah.
So we've got that whole list. Jim is doing that, but that only comes sectionally, like the signs when they do a pour at a park. Hopefully they'll be able to expand that to the others. When their busy season goes into a lull, that's when we can grab onto them. Let's see, what else was there? I think that was kind of it. I think there's one more thing, but
Okay.
welcome. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, meeting adjourned 7:38.
Nice.
Thank you.